The following podcast contains explicit language and content that may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay, welcome to the Qué Spooky podcast, where two married guys share scary stories of paranormal encounters, urban legends, true crime, and other scary things from around the world. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Andres.
And welcome.
Welcome. We probably surprised you with this intro because it's not the usual thing we do.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
We like to change things up.
Every once in a while, not too often.
Yeah.
So jumping right into it, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to remind everyone we still have those the immigration resources posted on our Instagram. It's an all my links link that you can go to, and it actually has instructions on what to do if you encounter ICE at work, home, school, etc. And then we've got a couple of places that are organizations that help people that have been detained by ICE, and you can donate money to them. And we've still also got the Support Palestine links on there as well. So
yeah,
that's not going away anytime soon. They're going to be there.
Yes. So, it's March.
It is. It's my birthday month.
Yes, it was your birthday the other day.
I'm 34.
Congrats.
Yum. I feel beautiful, young.
Since last recording, what's changed?
I'm beautiful, young. My bones don't creak. My joints are so supple and they hinge so easily.
Yes. That's what happens when you turn 34.
Yeah, and I can eat tomatoes and spicy food and not have heartburn.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then like if I don't turn the air purifier on at night, I'll wake up and I'll still feel fine. Like I didn't get beat up through the night.
And we all believe you.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone does.
We all believe you.
And my morning pill with my morning coffee is not aspirin. I don't have to do that anymore.
Right. Yes.
Dude, I always thought that when people talked about that, it was a lie. I'm like,
about getting old.
I'm like, being old can't be that bad. That's bullshit. And it's like, no, actually, you wake up and you feel like shit every day.
And you know why?
Why?
It's because you're on your phone all the time.
It's because you don't drink water. You know why? It's because you got out of the shower, you didn't let your hair dry, and you went outside.
It's because
that's why.
It's because you're around the house barefoot. Andas a rice.
Or because you ate watermelon during your period.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, that's another one. Or ice cream or pickles, whatever it is.
Damn. Well, anyway, since our last recording, yes, you have it was your birthday, but even then, I feel like so much has happened in the past 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Our friend Brittany came to visit.
Friend of the pod. She
came to visit. She was here for a quick weekend, and it was fun. We showed her around the city.
And even then, we walked just a little bit more than I was used to.
Yeah.
And it took me till Wednesday to recover, to feel better.
You were 34 back then.
I was 33.
Or 33 back then. Sorry.
Mind you, excuse you.
My apologies.
33.
Yes.
I am now 34.
Yeah, that's because you were 33 back then. You were a different person.
Damn. When do you stop feeling like a loser?
I haven't.
I meant for me, bitch.
Let me know when.
I'm like
when
at some point something flips, and you feel like an adult, and you feel like you have it together, and you feel like you're not a loser. And I'm like, wow.
I think most adults actually would say they have it. that they're still trying to figure it out.
I think sometimes when I talk to adults and I'm like, how old do you feel? And they're like, well, after I hit 27, I feel like I stopped growing. Like their physical body got older, but their mental state stayed the same.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I feel like I stopped at 26. I feel like 26 was it, and then I stopped. And I've like, my mindset has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The weather's being crazy.
The weather has been nice. And I explained to you, where it's like, do not believe that. Don't believe the one nice day in March.
You literally said, don't trust a fart. That's what you said.
Sure.
Except with the weather.
I did not say that.
Yeah, you
Guys,
did.
That was not what I said.
Yeah, you said don't trust today because you'll shart yourself tomorrow. Well, literally what you said was don't trust the 70-degree weather today because tomorrow is going to be cold and snowy, and that's exactly what happened.
And that's how you
I trusted the fart and I sharted. And now we're here and it's cold.
That's like a good like an ancient proverb. A Chicago proverb.
A what?
Right?
A proverb?
Am I saying it wrong?
Bitch, I say proverb.
Is it proverb? I think I've only ever seen written, so I don't care.
Girl, it's like me with the word, what was it? Oh my god, that word. Hold on. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Okay, you're out of time.
No. What is that word? What is it? Biopic? And I was like, biopic. It's like, no, it's biopic.
It looks right to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have read a biopic. Anyway, I think I still do. But yeah, that is a good proverb. Don't trust the fart.
You know what? You never watched The Karate Kid. I think that's the problem.
I didn't speak English back then.
Yeah.
Don't trust the fart because you will shart yourself.
Exactly.
But yeah, we took Brittany out to the city. It has been a little nice, but every so often it gets really cold. Like literally yesterday for Pi Day, Happy Pi Day to those who celebrate, you know what I mean? It was so nice. The city was out. Everyone was out really. And then today it's cold, and then tomorrow it's supposed to storm. We're supposed to get like a snowstorm.
Well, that's what I was trying to say when I was like, the weather has been crazy because it's like people back where we came from, they're dealing with wildfires. Yeah. And so like they haven't seen the sun in a few days because it's just been hazy for what is it, like a week and a half now? And then they had tornadoes and like 16 people died.
Oh,
yeah. And then we had tornadoes here too last night. And it's like, it is the end of times.
I mean, okay.
That's just it. It's the end of times. I'm acting like those coworkers that you have that are like super religious. And anytime you're like, oh man, we've had some really weird weather. Jesus is coming back.
Yeah.
They always say that.
Yeah.
Jesus is coming back.
Oh my God. Do you remember my coworker that it was the news actually, posted saying something like high amounts of sugar in fast food drinks linked to like obesity or something, you know, something everyone knew.
Yeah.
She commented on that Facebook news article saying, I just want my Lord and Savior to come back. And I'm like, huh?
Girl, what the
huh?
That escalated quick as
I was like, huh? I remember I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to some of our friends that we used to work with together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this real? And they were like, yeah, she's like that.
She was upset she couldn't have her Diet Coke. She was...
Anyway, well, one thing at a time. We keep like jumping from topic to topic, but...
That's just how my mind works. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I need you to calm down. So Brittany visited. We showed her around the city.
Okay.
And literally the day she got here, we were, riding the L train back to where we had parked the car. And someone recognized us.
Yes.
Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, it was our Prima Jimena's husband. Yeah, hi.
We didn't get a name.
Well,
Sorry.
Well, I messaged her back, but I don't think she's seen my message yet, and it was like 2 weeks ago. So I'm kind of upset about it because I check it every day to see if she answered, and she hasn't. So please, if you listen to this episode, go back and look at her message because your husband scared the shit out of me, but he was so nice. And then afterwards, I was like, oh my god, I should have said more to him.
No, he should have.
Said hi before.
Yeah, said hi while we were riding the train. We could have.
Yeah.
We could have chit chat. We could have talked.
People are so polite. I feel like when they recognize us, they're like, we don't want to disturb them, and so they're like, hey, are you guys from the podcast? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, okay, hi. And they're like, I'm actually like leaving right now.
Yeah.
So goodbye. And I'm like, oh.
I mean, I get it. It's like It's like you get nervous.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, because Brittany was with us and we were talking, and we're like, how much did he hear? What were we talking about? We were talking about.
We were being wild.
We were talking about like
calzones or something. Talking about.
We were talking about something, and I was like, damn, what did he hear?
Oh, okay. Our prima's name is not Jimena. It's Pamela.
You're so. See, I was like, don't trust
and
him.
I'll
and that's why
explain
she hasn't responded to you, because
no,
you messaged the wrong person.
No, I didn't message the wrong person. It's her last name. I got confused.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's very similar to the name that I just said.
Okay.
So, but anyways, she still hasn't seen the message. I just checked.
So, and this is us calling you out for not.
Please no. Don't feel like we're calling you out. I just thought, let's move on.
It was a nice gesture. And
yes.
So
he's a nice guy.
Big shout out. If you guys see us out in the world, don't be scared to say hi.
Yeah. He was a nice man too. Let me just tell you, se portó bien.
Yes.
Because if your husbands are out and they say hi to us and I don't like how he behaved, I'm going to let you know and be like, hey, ma'am, you need to talk to him because he didn't behave good out there. It reminds me of those videos where it's like, hey, watch my boyfriend. And then they leave the...
Can you watch him for a minute?
Yeah,
I have to go smoke.
And then they leave the camera on and people on like live or whatever, and people on TikTok are just like, no se portó bien. No se portó bien. So,
but yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Say hello. If you see us on the L, say hi.
Yeah, we might ask you to hang out with us because we're kind of lame.
Whoa. Well, we'll probably ask you what your favorite restaurant is around the area.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, no, people are going to be like, no, I can't, I have an appointment. They can't come with me. I'm not going to say hi now.
It's like, hey, can we go with you?
Actually, no.
Anyway, so I think we should jump into my case, right?
If you want to, because I heard you researching it and it sounded very interesting, so I'm kind of excited to hear what you got for us today. ¿Qué es lo que tienes? ¿Qué es lo que nos vas a relatar?
I am going to be practicing my Vietnamese today. That's it. That's my case.
I like how you said hi.
Hi. Sorry, I was scratching my leg.
Oh.
Okay, so this is a topic that I've actually had for a while. Like, I've known this from like the very beginning of like when we started the podcast, but I never knew how I wanted to organize it and how to talk about it.
But you finally figured it out because you got it today.
A little bit. This was almost gonna be a 2-parter, but I decided to end it, and you'll see where, like, when I explain where I end it, where it's like, okay, anything further, I'll explain after that. So I am covering the devil creatures of Quảng Bình.
Oh my what?
So my sources are Sơn Ɖoòng Cave website, Van Điều article by Dang Yung, a National Geographic article by Rachna Sarkassin, a YouTube video by Wartime Stories, an ancient aliens clip of Sơn Ɖoòng Cave, r/cryptids on Reddit, and Wikipedia.
I want to preface you got the whole encyclopedia coming in on here.
Almost. I want to preface this that I am trying my best when I read and speak in Vietnamese.
Make those church ladies that taught you Vietnamese proud.
Tôi không nói tiếng Việt. So we will be visiting Vietnam in my case.
Okay.
Specifically in the Phong Nha Ke Bang, a national park and UNESCO World Heritage Site in the Quảng Bình province of north central Vietnam. So within this area, there's a place called Hang Son Dong, referred to Sơn Đoòng Cave, or when translated to Vietnamese, it literally means the cave of the mountain behind Dong, or Dong is a name of a nearby village. It is also called Hang Son Tui, or the cave of mountains and rivers.
Mm-hmm.
The entrance to this cave was discovered by a man named Ho Hang in 1991 while he was searching for wood used for incense and herbal remedies. So he described the huge cave as a huge opening in the limestone cliff. When trying to retrace his steps, he was unable to find the cave at first, but because it was in such a secluded area and kind of hard to get to. With the help of the British Cave Research Association, he was able to lead them to the entrance again in 2009. So this cave, which is now considered the largest naturally formed cave in the world, is said to be between 2 and 5 million years old and largely formed in limestone from river water eroding the limestone under a mountain. To try to explain how big this cave is, it's more than 9 kilometers long, 200 meters high, and 150 meters wide, or 5.6 miles long, 656 feet high, and 492 feet wide. So, and it was kind of hard.
This is a huge cave.
It is a huge cave. It's the world's biggest cave. It was kind of hard encompassing, like, and we'll probably share a picture on the Instagram of like a 3D rendering, because that's how I saw it, where it's like a person and then the big cave and the big mountain above it.
And this person probably looks tiny compared to the opening.
Oh, you don't even understand. Hold on. So I've saw several sources kind of give different measurements. Some were saying that it was 9 kilometers long. Some were saying that it was 5 kilometers long. But all in all, it's just a really big cave. And I think the difference is that sometimes it varies because some chambers, they don't consider themselves like part of that cave. They're like, oh no, this is a different cave. So anyway, it has the world's tallest stalagmites in the world, being up to 80 meters or 262 feet tall. It's been compared to being large enough to fit an entire New York City block inside, including skyscrapers, or having a Boeing 747 fly through it without the wings touching any cave walls, which is a weird comparison. It's like, hey, how big is it? Big enough for a Boeing 747 to go through? I don't know. And I understand how some, like for a lot of people, it's difficult to try to picture something that big where they have to be like, oh, it'll fit 300 elephants or something. So, but I wouldn't ever use a plane. I don't know. So the cave itself is part of a network of more than 150 caves in the Annamite Mountains, many of which have still not been surveyed, that stretch through Laos and Vietnam. It's so large, it has its own ecosystem with flowing water, and several breaks in the cave ceiling have allowed sunlight to come in that promoted the growth of an ancient forest. Within the cave, endangered species of tigers, foxes, and primates have been found. So this is all to consider that this has its own ecosystem, that this is relatively new to humans. And more on that later. So the caves were officially opened to the public in 2013. These consisted mainly of guided tours for tourists or average hikers. But as soon as the caves became a public attraction, hikers began reporting strange sightings of an unidentified creature. In 2015, a video was uploaded online that claimed that Ho Han encountered something in that cave that he had described as a devil creature. This video claimed that he described this creature as having a human-like body, but the skin and face of a dragon. The video also claimed that Ho Han, while photographing within the dark cave, was able to capture this creature on camera. So in this photo, the flash of a camera seems to illuminate the eyes and the mouth of a scaly, reptile-like creature observing the person taking the photo. This video is the only known source of this information, so there's no confirmation if he actually took this photo himself or if someone else did, or even if this photo is that of what they're claiming it to be. These creatures have been described as being bipedal, having red, glossy eyes, standing at 2 meters tall or about 7 feet tall, covered in dark, shiny, scaly skin that almost looks black, snake-like faces with large forward-set eyes, and human-like arms and legs. Some reports claim that they emit a low green-like bioluminescent glow, while others claim that they don't glow. In one case, one individual was allegedly abducted by the beings in this area and never seen or heard from again. So I wasn't able to find any sources with more information on that, about this abduction. So many sources only mention this in like one sentence, like just that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, one person was taken.
Right. There's
never
not,
seen back.
There's not more, so it doesn't go into detail.
Yeah, and the weird thing is because I was also like cross-examining. Is that the word? Sure.
Yeah, you were in court. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was cross-examining a lot of Vietnamese... Cross-referencing, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was cross-referencing a lot of like Vietnamese sources too, especially like within that area of the province. But I couldn't find anything on that. Like most of the sources that I found that claimed that a person was kidnapped and never seen again were like cases or sources in English.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding and of what I've read, the locals in the area are aware of these creatures, but they avoid them as best that they can. To them, they're known as Nguy Tan Lan, literally lizard people. I thought it was kind of interesting how it's like, if locals were interviewed, they're kind of like, oh yeah, we know about them.
Yeah.
Like, that's normal. And it's kind of reminded me of like a lot of stuff that happens in Mexico where it's like, if you question it, they're like, oh yeah, that happens. Like a lot of brujas, like brujas stuff, like, yeah, sometimes it sounds like kind of out there for someone that isn't part of the culture. So it was very similar to that where it's like, yeah, that's just a thing that happens here. We just leave them alone. This area is pretty rural and locals try to avoid going too deep into the jungle. It may be due to its rural setting, but people believe that the jungle spirits that live there will curse or kill anyone that invades their homes. So it's kind of adding on to the reason why they don't really travel out there. There is even a saying in Vietnam, and I'm not sure if it's just the whole country or it's like more rural areas, but it's Urung Ting Nuk Dok, meaning sacred forest, poisonous water. So it's like you don't mess with anything, you don't want it to come back on you. So these reported sightings are actually not the first time that these creatures have been seen, with the first reported cases actually going back to the 1970s by U.S. Army soldiers during the Vietnam War. So these are some of those stories. They're very summarized versions of what happened, and I can kind of go into detail if it's like too rushed. So the first story I have is a group of American soldiers who drove up on patrol boats. So they were like patrolling, going down the river. It was during the Vietnam War, so they were mainly fighting like northern Vietnamese soldiers, like the Viet Cong. But they were patrolling, and I guess at that time, there was kind of an understanding that no one should be outside. That if you were seen outside at like after sunset, sorry, I should have specified that no one was outside. No one was allowed to be outside after sunset. If you were seen outside, you were considered like an enemy, and a lot of American soldiers could possibly like start firing at you. So for the locals, they were like, when sun sets, we just go home. So a group of American soldiers who drove up on patrol boats docked their boats on a riverbank and passed a tree line on foot into a large clearing. It's not really well known why they were looking around this area, because they were clearing. It's possible that they were trying to set up like a quick little base for supply drops or something. So almost immediately, like they were just searching, but almost immediately they noticed how eerily quiet this clearing was, with no sounds of insects or birds or monkeys, because that's weird. That's just out of the normal, because especially if it's
a jungle.
It's a jungle. It's literally in the jungle. So this is not normal. They begin to think that the animals are like reacting to people nearby, which happens sometimes. Like if you're out in the jungle and suddenly that happens, it's usually like And people see it here. It's like if you've ever heard like a cricket chirping, you walk by and it just stops. Same thing. So American soldiers had established almost like a curfew in the area, so it was generally understood that anyone out at night was an enemy. So they thought whoever was out there spooking the insects and animals must be North Vietnamese soldiers. As the soldiers began investigating these large piles of what looked like to be animal dung, so they were like just scanning the area, and they said that they found these like huge, or not huge, but like pretty high piles of what looked like animal dung. They heard rustling noises in the jungle on the opposite side of the clearing. One source that I was reading was saying that it was like a loud bang, but I was like, what could possibly be banging in like a jungle? So to me, it was like rustling noises. When the soldiers turned to look at what it was, they saw several 7-foot-tall lizard-like creatures running straight towards them on 2 legs. The soldiers said that these creatures had glowing yellow scaly skin and 3-digit hands and feet, and their faces were flat with snake-like eyes. And this was several people that saw this.
What color eyes did they have?
Red.
Okay.
They were described as having red colored eyes. The creatures ran past them, almost like the soldiers were not their priority. So the soldiers sprinted back to the boat, but as they were making their way back, they heard the same loud rustling towards them, almost like the creatures were chasing them through the jungle. Some soldiers started shooting, like without looking back at them. They were just pointing their guns and started shooting, and it didn't look like it slowed them down. When the soldiers eventually got to the riverbank, they boarded the boats and quickly drove away. Some soldiers started shooting at the creatures, but it didn't look like the bullets did anything to them, almost like the bullets bounced off their scaly skin. As the men drove away, they noticed that these creatures were now gathered on both sides of the river, just watching them drive away.
Vietnamese chupacabras.
Well, yes. This story was shared by a retired American soldier to Art Bell on the Coast to Coast radio show in the early 90s.
This isn't the first time I've heard about lizard people in Vietnam by veterans either.
Yeah. No, it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that like fought in Vietnam that came back and they're like,
I saw some weird shit out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, so Art Bell, I guess he was the host of the show Coast to Coast Radio, and I think we've talked about it before, where specifically with like alien stuff. So
yeah,
this radio show, it was just this guy. And initially, like the radio show started as like politics, but eventually like they kind of moved away from it and then moved more into like paranormal stuff. So they had people calling and kind of explaining their paranormal stories or like sharing like just crazy stuff that they saw. I remember there were a few times of like people claiming to be like former employees of some obscure project. They're like, oh, they're turning the frogs gay or something like that.
Yeah.
Things like that where it's like,
I specifically referenced that one video where the guy called in and said that aliens were actually interdimensional beings.
okay.
And in the middle of him talking, like the whole station, like the power went out.
Oh, the power went out. Yes, I remember that.
I feel like we talked about that probably in like 2021. It's been years since I brought that up.
Yeah.
It's like one of our like very first few episodes, I think.
Yeah.
But that was a radio show that he called into. It was Coast to Coast.
Yes. And
also Dave Paulides, Missing 411, he's been on that show too.
Oh, wow.
Which Dave Paulides is kind of an asshole anyways because he's a fucking Trump supporter or whatever.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about this show is that like it was good. But all of these episodes from the radio show are not available online. That's the thing that sucks about it. So like this case or this person's retelling, this was shared on like obviously on the radio show first, but then it was someone transcribed it like somewhere else, and then someone talked about it somewhere else. So it's been like a line of like telephone. So who knows if what actually was shared is what I just shared. In another story, American soldiers a few miles south of the DMZ were patrolling the area at night when they detected movement down in a nearby valley. So the DMZ is a demilitarized zone. It's basically like a buffer zone, but separating like North Vietnam and South Vietnam.
I thought you were going to talk about the band. Oh, that's Run DMC and not DMZ.
Girl. One thing at a time.
Oops.
So they were patrolling the area they saw movement down in a valley and they decided to go investigate. They quickly hid and were still able to detect movement in the jungle brush. So obviously they went deeper into the valley. After some time, they moved in and came across a cliff wall with boulders near it. Sorry. But the boulders looked like they had been purposely placed there, as if like these big rocks were brought from somewhere else. In the cliff wall, they found a small cave entrance that looked to be man-made, either like with machines or like tools with smooth edges on the walls. The American soldiers knew that the Viet Cong used tunnels for guerrilla warfare, but this looked different, and a sergeant suggested it may be used for like hiding supplies. So they completely disregarded. They're like, I don't know, looks a little weird. They're like, no, it's probably the Viet Cong. They're using this to hide supplies. While they investigated this cave, which would probably have been around 5 feet high and 3 feet wide, they said it had an unbearably strong smell of rotten eggs and human decay. And who knows how far deep it went to. They didn't really go too far into it.
Right.
The soldiers took position a few feet away from the cave entrance, where they were still able to get a good look at it, but be hidden well enough. So it was like in the jungle, basically.
Uh-huh.
They waited there in the jungle, which seemed to be unusually quieter than usual, with sound only coming from further away. So kind of similar to the last story, where it's like, it's just silent. Something is off. And I've told you before, where it's like, if we're like out hiking and it feels eerily quiet, I'm like, no, we gotta go. Something's weird.
Well, we've talked about it before. Panic in the Woods.
What is that?
It's where everything, when I was talking about, I think the Fleshgate episode,
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, that this phenomenon is called Panic in the Woods, where everything gets really quiet and things feel off. It's because there's a predator around.
Oh. You should have shared that earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't pop right in my head, but I'm like, wait a minute. I talked about this on one of our very first few episodes. Wow, it's just been like a reminiscing episode this episode.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Which you're lucky, because typically people will reference an episode and I'm like, I don't remember. But today I remembered.
No, there are several times that people reach out to us and they're like, hey, you guys talked about this. What episode is it? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Like it was a little boy in pilgrim's clothing that sang about berries and cream, and I'm like, what episode was that? What episode was that? I don't remember. And I'm like, was that even us? That was a commercial. Was that a commercial?
Oh, the crazy part is like sometimes I'm like, oh, that I don't think that was us, and they're like,
but it was.
No, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm confusing you with a different podcast. I'm like, oh,
are they better than us?
Oh, your other boyfriend.
What?
It's okay. Anyway, so they waited in the jungle, like I said, which seemed unusually quieter than usual.
We got Panic in the Woods sitting in.
Yep. So as morning approached, they detected a man coming out of the cave, or what they thought was a man. This creature was almost 7 to 8 feet tall and was looking in their direction. Then another of these creatures exited the cave. The soldier recounting the experience said the best way to describe it was like an upright lizard. They had scaly dark skins that looked almost black, snake-like faces, human-like arms and legs covered in scales. The creature wore what looked like dark green robes and black coverings on their heads. They said that they weren't able to look at their feet, though. So they weren't able to tell, like, if they were wearing shoes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The creatures were making these hissing sounds, almost like they were communicating with each other as they looked in the direction of the American soldiers. No one knows who gave the order, but the soldiers all began shooting at the creatures. And after the man recounted the story, ordered them to stop, they looked back at the cave and saw that the creatures were gone. They all looked around to check if the creature hadn't moved, like to surround them, but they were gone, most likely back in the cave. The soldiers agreed to set detonations to close the cave entrance for good. They made their way back to camp almost in a daze of trying to understand what they all witnessed. This story was shared by a retired American soldier to paranormal researcher Lance Strickler in 2015, which he then shared on his paranormal blog, Phantoms and Monsters.
Wow.
7 to 8 feet tall is crazy.
Yep.
We need those lizards to go to the NBA.
They're always super tall too. It's like Bigfoot, 7 to 8 feet tall, and then we've got the Wolfman. Because I don't know if you knew.
Yeah.
But where people have been talking about, I think we have talked about this off of the podcast, but not on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I was telling you that like people now are reporting that it's not a Bigfoot, it's like a Wolfman that they keep seeing, and that he stinks really, really bad, but he's also 7 to 8 feet tall. And then now we've got 7 to 8 feet tall lizard people.
Damn. They got wolf foot out there.
Dude, these people, I mean, these cryptids are waiting to be in the NBA.
And I'm 5'6".
Short.
That reminds me, oh my God. It was my sister's
Baby shower?
baby shower the other day. Were you there when we were about to take pictures? And my mom's like, turn on the light overhead.
Yes. I was the one that said, we're all Hispanic here. We can't reach. We're the same height.
We're all the same height,
Yes.
dude. It was like me, you, my sister, my brother-in-law, his dad, his mom, my dad,
Your
my
uncle.
mom. We're all like, who's the tallest? And we all look and we're like, we're all 5'6".
Yep. We were literally all the same height, and then all the women were the same height.
Just
Except your mom. She was just a little tinier.
Just a bunch of shorties in this house.
Yep.
So, like I mentioned earlier, many locals claim to have seen these creatures, but believe that as long as you leave them alone, they won't bother you. However, legends of lizard-like people are not new to Southeast Asia. Legends of serpent-like humanoids have existed in India for centuries, called the Naga.
Mm-hmm.
These creatures are part of the Hindu and Buddhist mythology, which claim that these creatures shapeshift to blend in with the human population. They also allegedly exist or come from their own realm called the Nagaloka, under the Earth's crust, where they guard treasure.
Yeah. Do you remember the Hawaii episode of the Mo'o?
A little bit.
Those were lizard people too.
It goes all the way to the top. In neighboring countries like Laos and Thailand, these similar reptile-like beings exist in their local mythologies. They're known as Paya Naga or Paya Nak in Thailand, and they're known as Nak in Laos. Legends claim that these semi-divine serpent creatures inhabit an underwater kingdom in the Mekong River, with some claiming that these serpent beings created the river. They're kind of like water spirits with the ability to shapeshift or disguise themselves as very attractive humans.
Mm-hmm.
And most legends say that they transform into beautiful women that dress in all gold to lure men into underwater caverns. To this day, there is a phenomena called Naga fireballs that occur annually in the Mekong River, where glowing balls of light rise from the water into the sky. It's believed that these fireballs are made by the Naga living in the river. There have been several theories as to what causes these lights, some natural, some supernatural, and some man-made, but there has not been an agreed upon consensus as to what's causing these.
Crazy.
And the thing is like, kind of like with the locals in Quảng Bình, people this is just a normal part of life to them. Like, they're like, oh yeah, the lizard people. They shapeshift and transform. And I think in some cases that I read, especially like the ones in Laos, or the ones from Laos, that Nagas will transform into beautiful women to like lure specifically cheating men.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of like other stuff that we've talked about that happened more in Latin America that kind of target more.
La Ciguanaba?
La Ciguanaba was a big one, where they kind of target specifically like cheating men.
Nasty, dirty men.
So I'm like, that's crazy.
Cheating,
They got their own legends. Same story, different font.
Yeah.
Different language too.
Interesting.
So along with Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, the existence of half serpent or half lizard humanoids. Why did I say it like that? I was like,
You're speaking partial tongue.
sorry, I'll say that again, but I'm going to keep that in. Along with Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, the existence of half...
Oh.
Why do I keep doing that? The existence of half serpent or half lizard humanoids have existed for hundreds if not thousands. It's my last sentence. They've existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years in the mythologies of Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Japan.
How interesting.
And that is where I will end it, because that's when I started to get more into it, where it's like, oh, okay, there's also like water demons in Japan. There's water demons in Malaysia. There's water demons in the Philippines. And I was like, okay, this is getting way too big. I had to cut it off at one point. So that's why I'm like, no, we're just talking about lizards.
Good. I wonder if we could find more like lizard people stories of like veterans.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really crazy.
Because even these were like super interesting.
Mm-hmm. No, there were a lot of like, in the video by Wartime Stories, I mean, they do like illustration of the cases, so I recommend watching that video. But there was a lot of people in the comments saying like, yeah, this is like common stories that happen over there. And they're like, oh, my grandpa fought in Vietnam. He said that there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened out there. But yeah, that's my case.
Damn, that was good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like it was relatively shorter than most of my other cases, but it's like, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with like
a short and sweet moment.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, thank you. Any questions?
No. Yeah. I have a question. Can you bring more lizard stories?
I'll try. But
okay.
I mean, maybe I'll save that for like another
a water demons episode.
A water demons episode. Hold on, write that down. A mermaids episode. Actually, I wanted to do like connect this to like mermaids too, because it was so much. There's so much. Because it's like, yeah, there's like reptile stuff, and that's kind of why I started with like Sơn Ɖoòng Cave, because it's like, it's so secluded. Who knows? There might be stuff out there.
Yeah.
And this is completely separate from like the conspiracy theory that says like that lizard people like rule the government or something like that.
Yeah.
What's like, I think that's separate. I think those are aliens, right?
Is this the cave that only like a certain amount of people are allowed in per year?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, but I know that there's that like big conspiracy theory that says that like there's lizard people and they look like humans and they shapeshift. But yeah, I think that's separate. And who knows? Maybe we'll cover that. Who knows? Maybe we'll cover that in the future.
Let's do it. So what do you got for the palate cleanser?
So I know that case wasn't really as scary as the ones we do. I mean, if it was scary for you, then thank you. This palate cleanser is for you. I saw that Netflix is investing $1 billion into Mexican entertainment and cinema. Did you see that recently?
I did not, but they need to, because that trash ass French movie that came out was disgusting.
True.
What was that movie called?
What was it called? I was just talking about it too.
Yeah. It's out of our mind already. It's so
irrelevant. Even though it won awards.
Maria
for some
something.
reason.
Maria.
You said that last time too, and it was like not Maria.
Emilia Perez.
Emilia Perez. That's what it is. That's funny.
Damn.
I was like, I don't know.
You skipped right over it, and I was looking at it. I'm like, Emilia Perez.
You're like, Maria. I'm like,
Maria
no.
Perez. I don't know.
Maria Perez.
That movie is so relevant. Like, I don't care.
So I saw that news that like they were investing in Mexican cinema on TikTok, and so many of the comments were like, please don't cast J-Lo. Please don't cast J-Lo.
I'm sorry, she's not that great of an actress.
She's not, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if people like her.
Made in Manhattan, I will give you that one. That movie was pretty good.
It was pretty good, I guess.
You get, not all hits are a strike, or not all hits are a miss. You're gonna have to hit one once in a while. Yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm stumbling on my words on this, but
no, I know what you meant.
Out of the 50 movies she's made, there's a couple of gems in there.
I'm sure one of them has to be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was funny, and I mean, it would be cool to see like stories that are not just, because I feel like so much Mexican cinema usually either comes from like people living in Mexico City, which like, yeah, that's fine, but it's like Mexico's huge. I would want to see like stories from other parts of that. But even we saw the success of it like for Korean dramas, Korean movies, where it's like people don't have to really understand the language to appreciate a good storyline.
I mean, is it that you don't think that they exist, or you just haven't watched it? Because I can say Sin Nombre was really good.
Sin Nombre.
Yes, and that was about coming from somebody coming from South America, traveling through Mexico, coming to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They may have been Mexican, but it had to deal with gangsters and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And
well, that was 2009.
Yeah, that movie was really good. And then there's Tigers Are Not Afraid or something like that. And that was about children having to deal with, like, homeless children having to deal with,
Yep,
like, their battles with like cartels and stuff. And that one was really good too.
Yeah, that one in Spanish is called Vuelven. That one, I think it's on our list to watch.
Yeah.
There was another one recent.
Is it the one with the trans actress?
Oh, El Secreto del Río? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Yeah. Sometimes the media is out there. It's just not like given as much praise as it should be, or like we don't hear about it. You know what I mean? Like we miss it. But there are definitely like a lot of stories that I appreciate them being told.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers Are Not Afraid will make you cry, because that movie made me cry.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully they turn out good movies.
Hopefully they don't cast J-Lo or Gina Rodriguez, because I can't stand her either.
You know, Gina Rodriguez is from Chicago. We don't claim her.
Let's research, Mama. That's what we should comment to Netflix. Let's research, Mama, and
let's research.
Let's research and not hire these two actresses. There's more. Or Zoe Saldana too, dude. Oh my God.
She's okay.
She's problematic.
Okay, but she as an actress, I feel like she's really good.
We're not separating the craft from the person.
What did she do? Did I miss something? I feel like you're teaching me so much today.
I feel like she has issues. She's obviously Afro-Latina.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that thing where like they try to better the race, or they just have like this internalized anti-blackness about them that
does she say something, or what are you saying? It comes out
sometimes in the things that they say or the things that they do. Like I've seen discourse talking about how and I'm not a teacher, I'm not here to tell you, you should go look it up, is what I'm saying, but I wouldn't, like, she's not as favorable either. She's been caught up in things, said things that it's like, okay, obviously you feel some type of way about being black. You're like sort of internalized anti-blackness.
Whoa. So no, I didn't know that. I mean, I haven't. She's pretty quiet to me. I'm just like, wow, yeah, she's there.
Oh, she's kind of loud.
Well, she's loud to me. That's what she's saying.
Yeah. And that's always disappointing.
Yeah. So on the 8th of March, it was International Women's Day, and there were a lot of marches held, like for women's marches throughout Mexico.
Yeah.
Kind of bringing attention to a lot of femicides happening in the country. There was a lot of support from it, so it was really good to see. But it was just like really heartbreaking seeing a lot of people like out in marches saying like, I'm marching for my daughter, or I'm marching for my best friend that went missing like a few years ago. Like I still haven't forgotten her, and things like that. So it was very moving, and it was just really sad seeing all of this. I mean, we've kind of covered a lot of cases like that on this show, and in particular, I know So Violentos o Macabro, the podcast, they cover a lot of cases too of these femicides. So we recommend listening to them.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, this is still like a problem in Mexico, and I feel like in most of the world, honestly.
Yeah, it gets worse that like I feel like women are so mistreated everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy.
Sorry, I should have not ended on that, but I'll just throw in one other one that I've been watching a lot of YouTube, a lot of videos on YouTube, but in particular from this channel called Wired. Have you seen? Are you familiar with the channel?
I feel like it sounds familiar.
So a lot of it is like they do like a variety of like a version of like tech support, but instead of tech, they replace it with like something else. So it's like, I'm an archaeologist and I'm going to answer your questions from the internet about archaeology. This is archaeology support, something like that. I've been watching a lot of videos about that. Like, I think one of them was like surgeries. That the first transplant surgery happened in like the 50s. And
That's
they're like,
crazy.
it's a relatively new science. And they were answering a lot of questions about like stuff that, like if you have questions about like transplants and like if you want to be like a donor or like live donors or like stuff about the liver. Like, did you know that you can cut your liver in half and within like 2 weeks, both of those pieces would grow back to like a full liver?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Did you know also that for some brain surgeries, you have to be awake?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are some surgeries that are invasive in your brain, and they're so close to other parts that control your breathing,
Mm-hmm.
your like just like your functions,
Yeah.
that like if you're asleep, they don't know, or they
Oh, they wouldn't know if something's wrong.
right,
Yeah.
if they like accidentally nick something like that has to do with something else, so they need you to be awake so
Mhm.
that like you're actively talking, so they know that they haven't done something wrong.
Yeah, the video that I was watching, they talk about how they have had some patients undergoing surgery play like an instrument. Or they ask them to talk.
Yeah.
Or like they're just like keeping them like awake and like talking to them, but it's like the whole time they have to be like, they have brain surgery, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That is
I don't know
crazy.
why. I've been recently watching a lot of videos about that.
Yeah.
And you know that I'm really into like science stuff, and you're more science of like space.
I love space shit.
I'm more science of the earth.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've been keeping busy. I don't know, that's been keeping me entertained for a lot.
Yeah, I know you were like a big fan of ologies for a long time, and then that kind of died down.
Oh my god, I love ologies. I will say, like, if I could choose like a favorite podcast, it would be ologies. And I know that's controversial because I have this podcast.
Bitch, you.
But
I'm my favorite podcast.
oh wow, I'm your favorite podcast's favorite podcast.
No, we're not gonna do that.
Sorry. Okay, but yeah, I would say like ologies is would be one of my favorite podcasts, and if anyone doesn't know, ologies is Ali Ward. She had a special on Netflix where she kind of talked about did like
Tests like human
tests.
experiments?
Yeah. And it sounds crazy. I know, human experiments, that
It's
sounds
not like
crazy.
torture.
Yeah,
it's
they're
just
not
like psychology stuff.
Yeah, it's just like psychology. To me, it seemed like a game show.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I recommend it. I forgot what it was called, honestly.
Yeah, but they have specialists on every episode.
Yes, every episode they
they'll
cover
have
like a new
psychologist, and
a new
they'll have like
ology.
a archaeologist. Like that's why it's called ologies. Whoever, and then she'll interview them.
Oh, it's so interesting. My
Yeah.
favorite one so far, lepidopterology, the study of like butterflies. And I think looking at the title and what it's about, to me, I think why it's my favorite episode is because to me that sounded boring, to be honest. And she's even said it before. She's like, some of these titles, like researching them, it's like, what is this? Lepidopterology, that sounds boring. But listening to it, she asks questions that are supposed to be like, I'm sure nobody asks you this. People are too shy to ask you this. I'm going to ask you. And they go over it. And a lot of people that are on her show are people that they're kind of like been in the industry for a while. They've been doing that type of science for like decades, or even if they're recent, they're like, this is what I've learned so far. This is what I would like to share. So I recommend it.
She does a really good job at, and I don't know how to call it, but typically like when you read a book or you watch a movie and you're introduced into this world, they always have a character that's like, oh, they don't know very much, so we learn with them.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
that make sense? That she does a very good job of being that bridge for us too when we listen to the podcast.
She's like us.
Yeah, she's like, I don't really understand. Let me just ask you all of the questions that we have, and people submit questions to her to ask, and so it's very interesting. But I always like when they have that character in movies and books, because I'm like, I'm dumb. Tell me what's happening.
Yep.
I sometimes I don't pick up on context clues, so just let me know. Let's have some exposition.
Yep.
One thing, and I
What
know
happened?
this might not be like the best thing to end the episode on, but
Okay.
I saw something very interesting that I hadn't thought about before until the other day when I saw it on TikTok.
Okay.
It was a creator that came on and she was talking about there's a lot of discourse and people saying like, oh, Republicans or like people that support Donald Trump or like MAGA people must be really dumb because they're voting against their best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you need to stop saying that. You need to stop saying they're voting against their best interest because you don't know what their best interest is. So she's like talking about how she went to in college and she had I think like a public speaking class and they had to like kind of go back and forth and talk and like go against and for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then their teacher was like, hey, like you can't assume that that's their best or that's their that's what they hold like in the highest regard. Because she's like, and that's where you start thinking that like these people that are voting against their best interest is actually white supremacy. Like at the very end of the day, if they want to stay the white majority in the United States and they want to be on top, they're voting for that. They don't give a fuck about the grocery prices or gas or going to war or anything like this because that's not the priority. The priority is staying on top. And I thought that was a very interesting viewpoint that I had not had even thought about before.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of our primas and primas have thought probably thought about it, and maybe I'm just the only one. But that was a very interesting outlook to look at it from. So, shitty way to end the episode, on a kind of weird note. But I just thought it was very interesting. I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah. No. It makes sense. It sucks hearing it though because, I guess to some people they're aware of it, but it's like they wouldn't have wanted to believe it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I was trying to give by thinking that I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and saying they're uneducated, but at the very end of the day, that wasn't their best interest. Their best interest is to be racist,
Which is crazy to put at your top of your priority list.
Yes.
Well, what?
You should read the outro because I don't have it pulled up. My computer
Okay.
died. My computer died. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on Instagram at Qué Spooky Podcast and on TikTok at Qué Spooky Podcast and on YouTube at Qué Spooky Podcast.
Wow.
We have to rewrite that. I'm sorry. Also, email us any story suggestions or your own scary stories at quespookypodcast@gmail.com. Special thanks to Taylor Turner for the artwork, Kyle Fields for the intro music, and Leonardo for the logo redesign. And don't forget to tell someone you love how much they mean to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.